Mike McGarry was there last night to see Hamilton with the big upset win. And, Michael, they did it the old Nebraska football way. Run, 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 run.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a vintage Hamilton High School performance. I think they ran about 3 plays all night. If it wasn't Jaden Abrams going up the middle for 226 yards, it was quarterback Ryan Bartz, faking to Jaden Abrams, pulling the ball back and running around, and a great job by the Hamilton offensive line, and a great job for a proud program that had, struggled the past couple of years. Hamilton made the 2017 South Jersey Group 4 final, but they haven't had a winning season since 2015. So they haven't had many nights like last night, but a great night for Jimmy Rasso, the coach of Hamilton, and the rest of the Blue Devils as they upset Holy Spirit 18-7.
Yeah, and you hit it too, the fact that Hamilton never is down per se, but they had a couple of years where they were trying to get a tentpole victory, right, so to speak. Is this it?
Yeah, I mean, this is a real marquee program-building victory for them. And an outstanding performance by Abrams. I mean, he is a really, really good running back. 5'11", 188 pounds. He's kind of got that classic running back size. There were plays last night where an average high school running back would have been stopped for no gain or a loss of a couple of yards. He turned it into 5 or 6 yard gains. Ironically, he missed last week's game, a 31-8 loss to Shawnee with a concussion. So he was back this week. And just a great way to propel Hamilton forward. Hamilton, we all know what they've done, football-wise, how good they've been throughout the decade, under Pete Lancetta and now Jimmy Rasso. They've just been kind of a victim of a really tough schedule. They've been in the West Jersey Football League. They've played the best teams in that league. They've had a really tough schedule. They played them competitively, but they were 3-7 last year. They were 1-2 this year. Now they've got a big win. They're 2-2. The rest of their schedule sets up nicely for them. They play Absegami next week. They've got winnable games the rest of the way. So it could be a sign of good things to come out there in Blueberry Land.
We're talking with Mike McGarry, Press of Atlantic City, our South Jersey Sports Report segment of the 8 o'clock hour. Just flip side of that before we leave that game, Mike. If you're Holy Spirit, then, is this totally derailed your chances, or where do the Spartans go from here?
No, absolutely not. Holy Spirit is 2-2, and obviously they've got a lot of tough games ahead of them. They've got the rivals still on the schedule, the Holy Wars, so to speak, with St. Augustine and St. Joe. But obviously, Holy Spirit season will be defined by how they do in the state non-public 2 playoffs. They're going to qualify for those playoffs, and then they'll be expected to make a run at a state title. So, although a disappointing defeat for the Spartans last night, and they got beat 18-7. But how do upsets happen? They turned the ball over inside the Hamilton 20-yard line twice. One of those is a pass that a Hamilton player makes a great play on. Could have been a touchdown for Holy Spirit. The Hamilton defensive back rips the ball away from the Spirit wide receiver, gets an interception. Again, they're going in for looks like another touchdown, and they fumble. So, everything went right for Hamilton last night. Great effort by Jaden Abrams. Couple of key Holy Spirit turnovers, but obviously Holy Spirit at 2-2, with still a lot to play for. Their season will be defined by the state non-public 2 playoffs.
All right, Mike, let's bounce over to, 6th in the boardwalk there, where the only upset is the fact that the shutout streak is over, right? I mean, Ocean City just took it to Absegami 44-6, and, 21 years. Hunter was 3 when Ocean City had a season this good.
Yeah, that's scary. I wish I was 3 when when Ocean City had a season that good. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I think I might have been 33 the last time Ocean City had a season this good. But here you go over at Ocean City. I was out at Hamilton, and you got your phone out and you're following the games on Twitter and stuff like that. And I saw the score of this game. Ocean City really jumped on them right away. Isaac Wilson ran for 3 touchdowns. I think they were up 30-something to nothing early in that second quarter, and I was really surprised. I've seen Absegami play this year. They've got a great quarterback in sophomore Ray Weed. I saw them play they were 0-2, but I saw them play a very competitive game against an undefeated Mainland Regional. Last week they're right there with Cedar Creek. I think that game was tied at halftime before Cedar Creek pulled away in the second half. So just a great job by Ocean City. Like you said, they're 4-0. They've allowed 6 points all season. We're kind of wondering, are they for real? Well, we'll get our answer next Friday night when they go out to St. Augustine to play them. St. Augustine's 1-3. Overtime loss to Shawnee, but a big win for St. Augustine last week against St. Joe. St. Augustine still, despite their 1-3 record, is one of the top programs in South Jersey. And there'll be a lot of people at St. Augustine next Friday night kind of checking out Ocean City, and we'll kind of see, it's a measuring stick game for the Red Raiders. But so far, you can't do any better than Ocean City's done this season.
I may have to make the trip out there to Richland and see that game myself because I want to see Ocean City, number one. I always like to eat, and I know they put out a good spread at St. Augustine in their little alumni area there. Mike Rizzo throws out, and Paul Rodeo's like the host, right? And
absolutely.
But see, here's the deal, Mike. I don't have an NJSIA pass anymore. Do you think they'll let me in?
I think they'll let you in, Pete. I mean, I just think flash your grin and wave your hand and kiss a few babies, and you'll be fine. And you mentioned, I think a lot of people will be out there. I think we all remember Ocean City, in the mid-'90s and early 2000s being one of the top programs in South Jersey. We still talk about that 1996 team as being one of the best Cape Atlantic League teams ever. And you got to look at next Friday's game at St. Augustine being one of the biggest regular season games Ocean City has played, in quite some time, maybe 15, 20 years. So it'll be a great night out at St. Augustine next Friday.
Well, I better pay off Mainland, too, because that's a team off to an unbeaten start so far as well. Ocean City, a great story. Mainland, a great story, too. 29-8, they beat Bridgeton, make that long trip out to Bridgeton, and don't really miss a beat. And the freshman is the story again. Yeah,
Jabril Mace, the running back, another great night out there. I think he has 685 yards in his 4 games. Bridgeton hung in there against them. Give Bridgeton some credit. They played a solid game, made Mainland work. But again, Mainland Regional is 4-0. Ocean City's 4-0. They meet that week in November, and it's a big deal in any sport when Ocean City and Mainland play. And in the back of all of our minds, we're kind of wondering what happens if those two teams get to the game. They're going to have good records. What happens if there's even more on the line when they get to that game in November? We got a long way to go before we get there. But again, it's great for area sports. It's great for high school sports when Mainland and Ocean City are good, and when they're good in the same sport together, it's good for high school sports. It's good for that sport. It's good for both schools. So it makes for an even more exciting football season this year with both of them off to 4-0 starts for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, and it sells a lot of newspapers. Go pick up a newspaper, people. If you're listening, I subscribe. Little blue bag was, Mike, I was up early. I went to bed too early last night. I was up early. I got up at like 4, and I thought, no, that's too early. Went back to sleep for about a half hour. Got up again, and I tried to do my routine of going down to the door and getting the paper. I thought, you idiot, it's 4:30. The guy's not here yet. So then at 5 o'clock, the paper was sitting right there, and God bless my carrier. He puts it right on the door so I don't have to waddle all the way out to the end of the sidewalk, right? It's right there, and that's my first Saturday go-to move, to fold open that actual paper that I subscribe to and read the content from last night, including such things as the fact that Egg Harbor Township picks up their first win, and they win 7-6 over Oakcrest. And you know me and my affinity for, like, kickers, right? I'm a big fan of, like, the guy who, oh boy, or the girl who, oh boy, gets put in the spotlight there, and there's another freshman.
Right, absolutely, and a big extra point last night for Egg Harbor Township. 7-6 in that game. Coming into the game, both of those teams were winless, so we knew last night when we covered that game, sent Dave Weinberg out there, the old cliches, somebody's O must go.
Right.
So, that's why we go out to that game. We know somebody's going to get a win, and it's a close game, but Joey Martin, the freshman kicker for EHT, boots that extra point. And, now, in pro football, they moved it back. You got to hold your breath a little bit in pro football on those extra points. But especially in high school, you can't take those conversions for granted, especially in a game like that. And Joey Martin of Egg Harbor Township gets puts it through the uprights, and Egg Harbor Township gets a much needed win. Their first win of the season, 7-6 over Oakcrest.
Right, and you know what? There's a freshman quarterback, too, Christian Rando for EHT. So freshman quarterback, senior wide receiver, Yasir Trinowell, and then that's their first win of the season. So good for EHT to pick up the win. Oakcrest, now, does Oakcrest not have... See, that's the other thing. A lot of teams don't have kickers, right? Like, is Holy Spirit again this year doing the we're never going to punt? Probably, if Charlie Roman's still calling the plays, right? So Holy Spirit doesn't punt. They just don't believe in it, right? Then you've got teams that just freely and cavalierly will say, we don't need a kicker. We don't have one. We couldn't find a guy or a girl.
Yeah, I mean, these days you do see, those teams are rarer. Back when I first started, their teams would just constantly go for two and things like that. Now everybody, at least I find now on the first touchdown of the game, everybody trots out a kicker there. I wish I knew this kid's name. The last Friday back in Middle Township, Buda beat Middle Township. They actually trotted out a Lou Groza style, head-on kicker, for the first extra point. I wish I knew the kid's name, because give him a shout-out right there. But I find that at least for the first touchdown, they'll send the kicker out, and after that, it's up in the air depending on what's going on in the game.
All right, let's see. So you touched on it briefly, the St. Augustine Shawnee game, and I talked a little bit about the fact that St. Augustine gave Shawnee everything they could handle. And speaking of field goals, St. Augustine attempted a go-ahead field goal with 1:34 left in regulation. Shawnee got a piece of it, so the field goal was no good. Shawnee gets the ball first in overtime. They score, which means that then the Hermits have to score to hold serve, so to speak, and the Hermits couldn't score, and that's the ball game. And that game goes to overtime. And for the Press of Atlantic City, that's the big, overtime game. And yet, of course, when we have Kevin Minico on later, we're going to talk about Williamstown and Lenape. Was Williamstown and Lenape last night, right? I mean, what a thriller that was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, St. Augustine right there, I mean, they've just played a tough schedule. I mean, they lost this season. They're 1-3. They lost to a state college team up in Pennsylvania. That's excellent. Then they lose to Lenape, who fell to Williamstown last night in a very close game. And then they fall to Shawnee last night. The issue for St. Augustine, they played great defense all season. They're coming off a big 28-12 win over St. Joe last Saturday, kind of a season-saving win for the Hermits. They go out there to Shawnee. They're up 7-0. Shawnee comes back. St. Augustine just can't seem to generate some offense in these losses. They scored 7 points against Lenape in that loss. They had 7 last night, but defensively they're right there. I look at St. Augustine, Pete. They have a lot of talent all over the football field. But there are a lot of sophomores and juniors on that football field, and it's tough to play the schedule that St. Augustine plays in that West Jersey Football League American Division. The Shawnees, the Lenapes, the Williamstowns, the Cherokees, with sophomores and juniors, no matter how talented these sophomores and juniors are. So you look at St. Augustine at 1-3. I still say they're one of the best teams in South Jersey, and I'd say they're a year away, 2 years away from being a really, really dominant team, because they've got a lot of talent, but they've got a lot of sophomores and juniors. And they'll get a boost next week against Ocean City, because Carnell Davis, a Division I wide receiver with scholarship offers from schools such as Penn State, will become eligible for St. Augustine next week. So he should help with the St. Augustine offense.
All this kind of content you can find on PressOfAtlanticCity.com with Mike McGarry, plus his Twitter handle is at ACPressMcGarry. Real quick, Mike, because we're getting close to the end here. Millville 30, Kingsway 20, Vineland 10, Timber Creek 44. I did that backwards, but Vineland falls at Timber Creek. There's Elyria again. Wildwood loses Riverside. Buna beats Cape May 48-7. Pleasantville 42, Gloucester 6. That's the Friday night games. Middle's at Gloucester Catholic today at 11 o'clock. Atlantic High plays at St. Joe. Pinelands at Keyport. Those are both noon starts. And Cedar Creek is at Woodrow Wilson. Where will Mike McGarry be on this fine Saturday?
I will be heading to Camden, to Federal Street in Camden for Cedar Creek at Woodrow Wilson. two of the top quarterbacks in South Jersey, Devin Cargman of Woodrow Wilson, a sophomore with scholarship offers from West Virginia and Rutgers already. Louis Barrios of Cedar Creek is throwing 14 touchdown passes, over 1,000 yards. The game starts at 1 o'clock. Right now, I'd sign to be back in my car by 5. The ball will be in the air plenty. I'll take an hour, a quarter, and we'll go from there. Last night's game was a little over 2 hours with Hamilton throwing 3 passes. Tonight, this afternoon, the ball's going to be in the air plenty. So I have, not made any plans, PT, for Saturday night because I don't know when this game will be over.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, you want to answer our Twitter question? If there's a move to be made for the Phillies, who's going to go? Klentak, Kapler, or neither?
Boy, that's an interesting question right now. I was actually, before I went to Hamilton, I was dropped by the Phillies. I was in Gabe Kapler's, pregame managerial meeting with the media yesterday. I have a story up online about that right now. And PT, he didn't seem like a guy who was about to lose his job.
Right.
He was calm. He was relaxed.
Borderline cocky, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was just, he didn't look like a guy who was in danger of losing his job. So I would say, I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to make some changes, but I would not be surprised if they brought him back and completely revamped this coaching staff. Said goodbye to pitching coach Chris Young. Obviously, they need a new hitting coach. Charlie was just doing it for the end of this season. So, that the way he kind of acted yesterday, he did not seem like a guy whose fate was currently, walking that line. So, we'll see what happens. They should make a decision Monday or Tuesday of this week. But, the meeting that we had yesterday with him led me to believe that, hey, maybe he's coming back for the last year of his contract, and maybe they're going to revamp his coaching staff and go from there.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Meanwhile, former Phillies pitching coach Rick Kranitz continues to laugh his way all to the bank in Atlanta as he says, ha ha.